Hey guys, here is the sleeper stretch with PAILs and rails. First, I'd like to talk about the setup. The setup's very important. We have to be in side lying position with neutral long spine, our hips and our knees stacked on top of one another, our shoulders stacked on top of one another, so I shouldn't be rotated backwards, I shouldn't be rotated forward. The other part of long spine I want you thinking of is scapular depression. So I'm going to pack that shoulder down towards my hip. And scapular protraction. So I'm going to reach my arm as far forward as I can, as long as I have my left shoulder directly on top of my right shoulder. From there, I'm going to bend my elbow. I should have 90-degree angles between my torso and my upper arm, and between my upper arm and my elbow. And you guys can see this because this part of my arm is perpendicular to the floor. In the sleeper stretch, we are trying to find a stretch in our external rotators on the outside back part of our shoulder. We will do this by doing an assisted internal rotation. I take my left hand, I put it on my wristwatch here, and I'm going to assist my right arm into internal rotation. I got to make sure that I'm keeping good 90-degree angles and that I'm not dropping my arm down, the elbow down towards the thigh. All right. So you can see that all I've really done is I've internally rotated my upper arm bone, or the humerus. Okay? If I've done that correctly, I feel a stretch behind my shoulder. I should not feel this part of my shoulder popping up off of the ground. In order to do PAILs and rails, the first part is to find that stretch. Once you have found that stretch, you will hold for 1 minute to 2 minutes. Then you will do the PAILs contraction. In this setup, the PAILs contraction is activation of that stretched tissue back behind the shoulder. And what that would do is it would take your right arm and push it back into your left hand. Since it's a PAILs contraction, it's an isometric contraction, so no movement occurs. You should just feel activation of that stretched tissue back there. You will sustain that contraction for about 10 to 30 seconds. After that, relax that contraction. And now you're going to try to find the rails tissue or the closing angle tissue. For the sleeper stretch, that's your internal rotators. It should feel like stuff in your bicep, the front part of your shoulder, or your pec. Your left hand can help guide you as you do that rails contraction. The rails contraction will do two things primarily. It will increase the stretch sensation of the stretch tissue. It will also allow your arm to rotate slightly further down towards the floor. You will hold that rails contraction for about 10 to 30 seconds and then release that. However, keep your left hand right on top of your right wrist watch to help hold your arm in that newfound range of motion for another passive stretch for about 30 seconds to 1 minute. Once you are done with that, actively bring your arm all the way back out of it, and then you can rest and shake it out. Make sure you flip over and go to the other side. The important part of the sleeper stretch with PAILs rails is the setup. You must be in long spine from the side lying position. You must be depressed and protracted to hit that deep capsule of the shoulder. This is sleeper stretch, PAILs rails.